Each year, scientists, researchers, and everyday people make incredible discoveries, helping us to better understand the world around us. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at interesting discoveries. The Large Hadron Collider discovered mysterious X-particles. We have some fantastic equipment available to us that can help us explore and answer questions about the universe. One particularly impressive one is the Large Hadron Collider located at CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. This is the world's largest particle accelerator, which for those of us who do not know all too much about physics, means this is a machine that lets charged particles move at incredibly high speeds. This is done by using electromagnetic fields. Being able to make particles move at such high speeds and high energies is very valuable in physics research, letting us learn more about how atoms and molecules work, and, perhaps most importantly, they can help us to understand the laws of physics. This incredible particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, has spotted some particularly interesting X-particles, which may have existed in the very, very early universe. Among trillions of particles within the accelerator, researchers spotted approximately 100 X-particles. They have their intriguing name X, as we are yet to know of their structures. What makes these particles so interesting is that there is a significant possibility that the X-particles existed in the first few fractions of a second following the Big Bang. They have an incredibly short lifespan and do not hang around long, though their presence could give us some more info on the origins of the universe. The X-particles in question were seen in a wave of elementary particles known as a quark-gluon plasma. This was formed inside the Large Hadron Collider as a consequence of colliding lead ions against one another. Lead author of the study and member of CERN's CMS collaboration and an experimental particle physicist at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Yenji Lee, described this discovery as just the start of the story. He went on to elaborate that being able to prove that a signal is present is a huge leap in the right direction. The next step will take place over several years and involves the team investigating the internal structure of the X-particle using the quark-gluon plasma. This has the potential to tell us what sorts of materials the universe can and should produce. When researchers have investigated the origins of X-particles, they have found that they trace back to just after the Big Bang, within less than the first second. This means that they were around when the universe was at an overwhelmingly high temperature, trillions of degrees, and was filled with quarks and gluons. These are elementary particles which, once they cooled, became the protons and neutrons we learn about today at school, which are significantly more stable. It appears before the temperatures dropped, giving us protons and neutrons instead of quarks and gluons, there was a short period where a few of the gluons and quarks collided, forming very few, very temporary X-particles. We still do not know exactly how the elementary particles formed the X-particle structure, but if we are able to somehow find an answer to this, then we will have a far better understanding of these particles that made up the early universe. 3,700-year-old Babylonian stone tablet gets translated and changes history. We often hear tales of archaeological breakthroughs and ancient artifacts changing our historical, sociological, and cultural understanding of societies, both modern and ancient, but it is much rarer for our understanding of maths to shift so significantly. But an ancient stone tablet donning the name Plimpton 322 or P322 has done just that. P322 was first uncovered in the early 20th century by archaeologist, antiquities dealer, and Indiana Jones inspiration Edgar Banks. The tablet was discovered in modern day's southern Iraq and is now being held at Columbia University. The tablet displays 4 columns and 15 rows of numbers inscribed in cuneiform, a writing system used and developed by the ancient Sumerians of Mesopotamia. Interest in the Babylonian tablet picked up in the 1940s when the cuneiform writing was recognized as numbers that reflect the Pythagoras theorem, a mathematical theory that most teenagers are familiar with. Teens all over the world have memorized this theory verbatim. The square of the hypotenuse equals the sum of the square of the two other sides. The discovery and use of this theorem in Babylonian times has sparked a great deal of discussion lasting for decades. Mathematician Dr. Daniel Mansfield and his research team from the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia, were studying P322 after seeing an image of it whilst designing maths courses. Mansfield said, I'm sure it's trig, but how? The endless rules of trigonometry have haunted many people, high schoolers frantically memorizing for exams, and graduates who still get nightmares. But P322 did not display endless rules of sine, cosine, and tangent. This trigonometry had a makeover. From the Greek astronomers who were long credited with first uncovering trigonometry to the modern-day usages, we have always used the rules of sine, cosine, and tangent, figuring out angles and approximate measurements, rounding up to make these complex numbers functional. But the Babylonian tablet could be telling us that not only was there another way all along, but that they found this way first, beating the Greek researchers to the punch by 1500 years. In this Babylonian approach, complicated angles have been replaced by ratios. Mansfield described P322 as a clean and easy way to use trigonometric table. The team unravelled the tablet's meaning and concluded that the lengths of the sides were calculated in ratios, not angles. Mansfield discusses the revolutionary aspects to this tablet, explaining that whilst we may prefer to stick with angles and not shift the status quo, the outside perspective is amazing, reflective of an ancient society and a simpler approach to mathematics. Dr. Mansfield stated, we have to really get outside our own culture. Mathieu Ossendriver, a historian on ancient science from Humboldt University in Berlin, reiterates the value of this discovery, pointing out that the angles we use are only approximate, giving us rough figures we have deemed close enough. By comparison, the use of ratios is far more accurate, leaving the maths as unaltered and exact. Despite all the excitement that came with this discovery, there is still a good deal of speculation surrounding the use of this table. Ossendriver explains that there is no proof that the table was utilized in the ways we use trigonometry today, despite what the research papers are claiming. Another much harsher criticism comes from science historian Göran Freiberg, who retired from the Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden. He emailed Science magazine stating the Babylonians knew nothing about ratios of sides. He instead believes links to trigonometry are purely coincidental. Despite other researchers' uncertainty, Mansfield and his team maintain their belief that P322 is an early trigonometry table and was used for architectural purposes, constructing palaces, temples, and canals. Whilst there is a good deal of speculation, the debates surrounding this 3,600-year-old tablet are becoming more exciting and more relevant. Could we incorporate ancient approaches into modern-day teachings of trigonometry? Only time will tell how practical the use of ratios is in trig, but we do know that the dreaded maths of right-angled triangles has been around for much longer than we thought. The Temple of Angkor Wat was bounded by a mysterious structure 1.5 kilometers long. In December of 2015, it was discovered that the world's largest religious monument is actually even bigger than we once thought, among other brilliant insights provided by this research team. The Temple of Angkor Wat, located in Cambodia, Southeast Asia, has been thought of as the world's largest religious monument for hundreds of years, having been built in the 12th century, once at the heart of the Khmer Empire. Bringing a modern twist to this knowledge, however, is the work of a team of Australian archaeologists who have found we can actually expand the recorded size of the temple thanks to their use of ground-penetrating radar whilst investigating the Angkor Wat complex. The research mission, dubbed the Greater Angkor Project, was led by Australian researchers, Professor Roland Fletcher and Dr. Damien Evans, who work with the University of Sydney. Their investigation revealed more components to the temple than we had previously known of, as well as the complex being bounded on the south side by a large structure, adding to the previously recorded size of this record-holding temple. When speaking on behalf of the team, Professor Fletcher said this structure, which has dimensions of more than 1,500 meters by 600 meters, is the most striking discovery associated with Angkor Wat to date. Despite this being a fascinating finding, there is still plenty we are yet to uncover. To date, the purpose and function of the structure remains unknown, and we are yet to find a parallel or otherwise similar structure in any other Angkorian works. Aside from the large adjoined structure, the team also discovered buried towers that had been assembled and removed throughout the period, estimated to encompass the dates surrounding the construction and first uses of the temple at the Angkor Wat site. Even more new information has come to light as a result of this investigation, challenging the misconceptions surrounding the temple. For decades, centuries even, we had held the assumption that on the land neighbouring Angkor Wat stood similarly sacred precincts and cities of religious importance. However, this team has found there to be evidence of a sparse population's housing among these areas. The research team believe this could suggest residential use of the land, theories supported by the findings of roads, ponds, and mounds. Current speculation says that these were all used by people working within the temple, in positions of service, largely such as priests. Another fascinating revelation made courtesy of this project is the discovery of wooden structures, having been created to secure and strengthen Angkor Wat. Archaeologists predict that these wooden structures have been implemented towards the more modern end of the temple's history, leading Dr. Fletcher to describe it as a possible last attempt at defense, an opinion expressed through his statement. Angkor Wat is the first and only known example of an Angkorian temple being systematically modified for use in a defensive capacity. The placement of these defences on a more modern timeline, estimated between 1297 and 1585 AD, suggests that the addition of the defences could have been in an effort to resist the growing influence of the city Ayutthaya, a city nearby. Dr. Fletcher summarised with the concluding thoughts. Either data makes the defences of Angkor Wat one of the last major constructions at Angkor and is perhaps indicative of its end. This relatively recent insight into a temple so long out of use points to both the complexity of human civilization and the momentous discoveries that continue to lie ahead of us, and the abundance of new leads and information to have come from one research team is a true testament to their important work. The Underwater Stonehenge found underneath Lake Michigan. When most people think of Stonehenge, the familiar prehistoric monument of a ring of standing stones in Wiltshire, England, comes to mind. These massive stones have been standing on the surface since 3000 BC, but another recent discovery uncovers a similar structure deep below underwater and far away from England. In 2007, while on the search for shipwrecks, a group of northwestern Michigan College archaeologists came across something big. 12 meters down, they found a set of aligned stones that must have been placed into formation by ancient humans before water covered the area more than 10,000 years ago. They were looking at America's Stonehenge. It was found in the depths of Lake Michigan, which is the largest freshwater lake in the United States. When Mark Holley, professor of underwater archaeology, came across the site, he stated he couldn't believe what he saw. It was the position of the stones that led researchers to believe it was unlikely that the formation was naturally occurring. The stones were all the same distance across, and were like the ones found in France, England, and the Nabta Playa. To get a closer look, a diving expedition was put together to observe the stones. An underwater photographer was able to capture a fascinating find of a mastodon depiction carved upon a stone. Mastodons were ancient animals that resembled modern elephants and were forest-dwelling creatures that lived in herds and grazed across the land. They disappeared from North America when a mass extinction occurred around 8000 BC, done in part by hunter overexploitation. The carving on the stone suggests that the American Stonehenge had to have been arranged before the mastodons went extinct over 10,000 years ago. Researchers believe that the material consists of a very hard rock called granite. The lines and marks of the mastodon were precisely carved, which raised the question of how ancient humans found materials strong enough to etch onto granite. Among these speculations, there was further evidence that the structure was man-made. Humans were believed to have been present as early as 25,000 years ago, when the lake was once dry land. Around the area when the first Europeans arrived in the 17th century, they came across thousands of prehistoric mounds. Sacred stones, statues, and stone idols have also been sighted in several places, many weighing over 100 kilograms. To this day, the exact coordinates of America's Stonehenge is kept a secret by the local Indian tribes who want to keep an influx of tourists away from their land. There is only one question that remains. How could humans have created such intricate structures over 10,000 years ago? The answer to this unexplained mystery may very well change history as we know it. Lab-grown mini-brains develop basic eyes that can see. The human brain is one of the most complex structures we know to exist. We have countless fields of study focusing on how it precisely works. From neuroscience to psychology, there are plenty of ways to begin looking into the human brain's psyche, chemical reactions, and structures. One way that has made remarkable breakthroughs as of 2021 is lab-grown mini-organs. Lab-grown mini-organs are essentially a small-scale organ, similar to the human brain, that is made and observed in a laboratory setting. The aim here is to help understand the brain better, and it goes without saying just how valuable this field of research can be. Scientists can help us see the functional processes of the brain, test and trial treatments or drugs before administering them to humans, observe the effects of disease, or even see the development and growth processes. Scientists use induced pluripotent stem cells, known as iPSCs, to create these lab-grown organs, being referred to as brain organoids. Stem cells are the golden ticket of the body's cells. They are unspecialized, meaning they can be used to create any other cell in the body with specialized functions. This makes them incredibly valuable. To create the brain organoids, skin cells obtained from adult donors are turned back into stem cells, making them generic and able to change or specialize. These stem cells are then put into a culture that aims to reflect the environment of a developing brain, allowing the stem cells to specialize into brain cells. The end product, when successfully done, is a small brain model. As of 2021, these brain organoids have progressed one impressive stage further. A research team at the University Hospital Düsseldorf have developed these same brain organoids, but they are now all set up with optic cups, the structures in human eyes where the optic nerve joins to the retina. In more simple terms, these brain models can see. The optic cups have successfully responded to light and have sent these messages to the brain. The team found that from 314 brain organoids, 72% were able to see from these optic cups, and they developed at a rate comparable to that of human embryos developing retinas. This opens up so many more possibilities as to what these brain organoids are able to tell us, most significantly though, by no means exclusively, brain-eye interactions. Though concerns have been expressed, if such remarkable progress continues to be made, will this research and experimentation be ethical? Science, whether it is cultural, historical, or biological, is continuing to advance. With every new discovery made, more doors are open for future research and theories along with many questions. But what do you make of these recent discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.